The news of Diane Keaton's death on October 11, 2025, sent shock waves through the entire movie world. She died alone after fighting her serious illnesses. But what shocked people even more than her death was how Al Pacino reacted. He was her movie partner for 15 years. Right after hearing the news, Al Pacino quietly cried and said, "I will feel sorry for the rest of my life that I didn't marry Diane. She was the greatest love of my life." He remembered that when Diane once said, "Marry me or we break up," he chose to walk away. And now that sorry feeling has become too much to bear. He didn't go to the funeral, but Pacino chose to remember Diane in his heart, keeping all memories of her alive. From old photographs and handwritten letters to small gifts, each special item reminded him that Diane never truly left. What sad scenes happened at Diane's funeral? Who was there to say their final goodbyes? Watch the video to find out. On the morning of October 11, 2025 in Los Angeles, the day was gentle and clear. Sunlight came through tall leaves onto the road in front of the big house Diane Keaton once called her private place of imagination. The house was quiet as always, with only the wind and bird songs. But inside, that calm was broken by something no one expected. At 8:08 a.m., the emergency service got a short phone call. "Person down." No other details, just 3 cold, heavy words. Rescue 19 headed out right away, not knowing that in a few minutes they would enter the home of one of America's famous movie stars. When the paramedics arrived, the iron gate was still closed, and there was no unusual noise, and woman inside opened the door and took them in. Diane Keaton was found not moving in the room filled with light she had used for reading scripts and writing in her journal. Everything around her was neat. No signs of trouble or fallen objects. Only silence remained, thick, like the nature of how she left. They carried her along the tree-lined street that Diane had driven down many times. The ambulance left in silence, as if respecting the peaceful morning. Just hours later, the world learned that Diane Keaton had died at the age of 79. The news spread quickly, but all details about her final health were kept private. The family confirmed her sudden health problems, but refused to say the cause. In the following days, reporters and fans began putting together pieces of information. Diane had talked about her fights with skin cancer, her difficult years with eating problems, and how she looked more weak in recent times, but no one had proof that any of this was directly connected to her final morning. Every detail stayed unclear, like sunlight coming through the leaves of her big house. Bright, yet broken into many pieces, Hollywood was shocked. Those who had worked with Diane, from Woody Allen to Nancy Meyers, sent messages of respect, remembering her special smile, the hat slightly tilted on her hair, the natural grace no one could copy. Yet behind the praise, an empty space remained. Who was the first to notice her fall? Who called for help? And why did everything happen so fast, so quietly? No one has a clear answer. However, we will explore the illnesses that troubled Diane later in the video. For now, let's move on to Diane Keaton's funeral, where a legend was laid to rest. What we know is that Diane Keaton's funeral took place shortly after. The family chose a small seaside garden where old olive trees whispered with the wind, as if nature itself kept the private promise Diane once wrote in her book. Her family, along with her 2 adopted children, Dexter and Duke, picked this peaceful place far from the Hollywood spotlight she had won, but never let control her. On October 14, 2025, just 3 days after her death, the movie world paused for a moment to honor the woman who had changed the image of humor and strength. As the first guests quietly stepped through the iron gate, the air was heavy with silent sadness. Bette Midler, Diane's friend through the laughter of the First Wives Club, arrived first, her gray scarf hiding tear-stained cheeks. She held Carol Bayer Sager's hand, who had seen Diane's weakness in her final days, whispering, "She never pretended, never competed. She was simply Diane with that playful smile." They sat in the front row beside simple white flowers, not bright roses, but small bunches of lavender from Diane's old garden, showing the simplicity she always wanted. No big orchestra played, only an old piano softly playing the music from Annie Hall, the music Diane once called the laughter of my soul. The family was the heart of the ceremony, a warm circle in the salty sea breeze. Dexter, the 29-year-old daughter with eyes like her mother, stood first, her voice shaking but strong. Mom taught us that life is a comedy, sometimes clumsy, sometimes painful, but always worth clapping for. Duke, her 25-year-old son, sat beside her, holding her hand, eyes red, as he remembered afternoons when Diane wore unusual hats, laughing with Reggie, her golden dog. They didn't cry loudly but shared small stories, how Diane adopted them at 50, how she turned the house into a world of books and unfinished scripts. This was her wish. Not a big, showy ceremony, but a place where family could whisper words of love away from watching eyes. Woody Allen arrived late, looking small by the simple wooden chairs, his pale face like someone stepping out of an old film. The man who created Annie Hall with Diane, the amazing movie that won her the 1978 Oscar, sat alone, a cigarette unlit in his hand. When asked to speak, his voice was rough. Diane was the example of creativity. She didn't act. She lived with self-making fun humor that only true geniuses have. Those around nodded, remembering the complicated but inspiring friendship between them. Films like Sleeper and Manhattan had shown Diane Keaton as strong, always challenging normal ways. No arguments, only a quiet tribute to a woman who turned fear into laughter. Also, there was Francis Ford Coppola, who cast Diane as Kay Adams in the Godfather movies, stepping in with heavy steps as if carrying the history of the 1970s. He hugged Robert De Niro, a longtime co-worker, before sitting. Everything about Diane was creativity, Coppola said in a short speech, his warm voice echoing through the simple microphone. De Niro, eyes red, added, "I am deeply saddened and shocked. I loved her, a kind woman in a crazy world." They spoke of long nights on set where Diane not only acted but encouraged everyone, turning sad scenes into moments of humanity. The air seemed to get heavier as everyone listened silently, like watching a classic film one last time. Two other people attended, Reese Witherspoon and Goldie Hawn, representing the next generation, carrying wildflowers from fields Diane once loved. Witherspoon, whom Diane had helped as a teenager in Wildflower, spoke with a choked voice. She changed how we see women on screen. Smart, funny, and completely original. Hawn, with a sad smile, held Jane Fonda tightly, whispering about book club meetings where Diane was always the center with unusual fashion and everyday stories. Michael Douglas, sitting in the back row, called the loss heartbreaking, praising Diane as one of the greatest icons. As the sun set behind the horizon, the ceremony moved to a memorial of her work. A large screen played clips. Diane in Something's Gotta Give, smiling brightly beside Jack Nicholson. Diane in Father of the Bride, hugging Steve Martin like a true mother. Each scene reminded people of her journey, from a girl in Santa Ana with Broadway dreams through groundbreaking roles to a mother, director, and quiet supporter of mental health. Leonardo DiCaprio, sitting quietly, whispered to a friend. She was one of a kind, and I was honored to work with her. No loud songs, only gentle piano notes guiding people into thought, where sadness mixed with thankfulness. However, the most special person to honor Diane was her former boyfriend, Al Pacino. He was a longtime co-worker and had been the great love of her life. Upon hearing the news of Keaton's death, Pacino fell into a pain described by close friends as very deep and haunting. Their relationship began in 1971 on the set of The Godfather, where Keaton played Kay Adams and Pacino played Michael Corleone. Those years together, though full of passion and challenges, left a mark on him that would never go away. And now that sorry feeling has become a controlling emotion. Close friends said that he cried the moment he got the news, hands shaking as he held the phone, unable to believe that the woman he had loved deeply and spent his youth remembering was gone forever. He sat quietly for hours, eyes fixed on old photographs on the table. moments of Diane laughing on the set of The Godfather, everyday smiles in Santa Ana that Pacino kept in albums, looking at them again and again in silence. Pacino never publicly made a direct statement about Keaton's death. Instead, his closest friends said that he was in deep pain and regret for not proposing when he had the chance. "Marry me or we break up," Keaton had said. Pacino chose to walk away, and now after her death, he realizes that chance was lost forever. Friends described him saying over and over, "If it's meant to be, it's never too late for a second chance." But sadly, now it's too late. Pacino's regret was not only personal pain, but also a tribute to someone who had brought balance and peace to his life. In earlier books and interviews, he had admitted, "Being with Diane was very much about a sense of peace and comfort. I found a type of comfort that lets you feel and think with the world." Now, memories of her smiles, afternoons on set, and ordinary moments spent together have become the only treasures he keeps. Pacino did not go to Diane's funeral. Friends explained that the pain was too great for him to walk through the gate. He wanted to remember Diane in his own heart, keeping her image alive forever in his mind. He wanted everything about Diane to stay the same as the memories he loved, unchanged by the funeral or the curious eyes of the public. The image of Keaton with her playful smile and open heart stayed clear in Pacino's mind, going beyond any ceremony or goodbye. In the days after her death, Pacino spent hours looking at old photographs from The Godfather Part 2 and Part 3, where their love was most intense. A close friend said that he was haunted by memories, quietly remembering the years they shared. From tiring filming to the simple everyday moments that Keaton always knew how to turn into unforgettable memories, that unfinished love has now become a lifelong regret. He opened her old notebook, flipping through handwritten pages of scripts, small notes in blue ink, even little writings about daily life. One time, he burst into tears when seeing Diane's words, "Don't forget to smile even when the world is against you." He also kept a silver bracelet Diane had given him for Christmas in 1975. Each time he looked at it, Pacino seemed to hear her warm, playful voice echoing in his memory. In 2017, at the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award for Keaton, Pacino gave an emotional tribute, "I will love you forever." Now those words sound like a late goodbye, showing that to him Diane was not just a star, but the greatest love of his life, an irreplaceable part of his soul. In Pacino's heart, she still lives, bright, strong, and whole, just as the person Hollywood once admired. Despite her famous and successful career, Diane had very weak health in her final days. In the last months of her life, Diane Keaton quietly faced a sudden drop in health, shocking friends and fans. Her medical history noted 2 major battles, skin cancer and bulimia. From the age of 21, she faced basal cell carcinoma, a disease passed down in families that had affected her aunt, father, and brother. Around 2014, she had 2 surgeries to remove squamous cell carcinoma on her cheek, a challenge that made her a strong supporter for sun protection. "It has followed me all my life," which made friends worry that long-term effects may have added to her weakness, especially as her body looked very thin and weak in her final weeks. As Carol Bayer-Sager described after meeting her in Palm Springs, bulimia was another painful chapter in Keaton's life. Beginning in the 1970s, when the pressure to lose weight for the Broadway musical Hair pushed her into out-of-control eating habits, she once ate up to 20,000 calories a day. Fried chicken, French fries, sweets, then threw up, a habit she called an addiction and the lowest point of my life. Weekly therapy helped her get over it, but she always considered herself a recovering addict. Although the problem did not publicly come back, it left a deep mental mark, causing her to live alone during her early career. Friends guessed that the mental effects may have made her weaker when her health dropped in old age. The sudden drop became noticeable. In the final months of 2025, shocking those around her, Carol Bayer-Sager, a close friend, met Keaton in Palm Springs after the January 2025 wildfires and was shocked to see her unusually thin. She was still smiling, still funny, but looked very weak. Others also noticed she had stopped her favorite habits, such as daily walks with her golden dog Reggie, the last image she posted on Instagram a few weeks before her death. An unnamed friend said, "Diane didn't want anyone making a fuss. She kept it private as if she didn't want us to worry." Fans began to notice worrying signs from Keaton's rare appearances. A post from an entertainment news account described, "Diane looked tired, pale, much thinner than before." Another unusual sign was her decision to sell her dream home in Los Angeles for $29 million in March 2025. This house, where she had lived since 2017 and had written a book about, showed her passion for building design and family stability. Friends saw the sale as unlike her, suggesting that her health or mental state had made her change her lifestyle. She loved that place, always said she would live there forever with Dexter and Duke, a source shared. This decision, along with fewer public appearances, suggested she may have sensed her body weakening but chose to face it alone. On the morning of October 11th, the Los Angeles Fire Department was called to her home at 8:08 a.m. for emergency medical help. She was taken to the hospital but did not survive. Diane Keaton died on October 11, 2025 in Los Angeles at the age of 79. Her death left a huge empty space in the hearts of fans and the movie industry. Her memory will be forever remembered through her famous roles and tireless work in the arts. Additionally, for many years, people have wondered why Diane Keaton never got married despite having passionate relationships with many talented men from Woody Allen to Warren Beatty. It was the nearly 15-year love story with Al Pacino that left a deep mark, haunting her, and finally leading her to stay single. The passionate yet sad relationship with Pacino not only shaped her heart, but also became the reason she said no to proposals, as if her heart had been completely given to one person and could not open again. In the end of her life, when she died on October 11, 2025, this love story stayed an unfinished song echoing through stories and memories. They first met in 1971 on the set of The Godfather, where Keaton, a rising Broadway star, played Kay Adams, the patient wife of Michael Corleone, played by Pacino. From the very first look, Keaton was captivated by Pacino, a man with crazy beauty and explosive energy like fire. She once said that Pacino was everything to her, from endless evenings of conversation to emotionally charged silent moments on set. Their love started during the filming of The Godfather Part 2 in 1974, when they found harmony in art and big dreams. They walked the streets of New York hand in hand, as if the world of Hollywood was just a background for their own love story. Their relationship lasted through the 1970s and 1980s, but it was not a smooth line. It was a passionate dance mixed with breakups and getting back together, like scenes reshot for perfection. Keaton, with her open heart, loved Pacino truly, from laughing at his jokes to quietly sitting by his side, listening to him talk about Shakespeare. Pacino, with his free-spirited nature and career focus, brought both joy and pain. "He is a lost genius, and I wanted to be his guide," she once wrote in an unpublished letter later revealed by friends. Yet that freedom also made her long for something Pacino could not give: a permanent promise. During those years, Keaton began dreaming of a family, a home where she could be herself without a stage hat or spotlight. She shared with People in 2017 that she wanted a house with children's laughter, a dream she hoped Pacino would help build. But Pacino, despite loving her deeply, was focused on his career and free lifestyle. On evenings by the fireplace, Keaton would hold his hand, quietly asking about the future, only to get hugs and unclear promises. "He loves me, I know, but he can belong to no one," she told a close friend, voice full of regret. Those moments were carved into her heart like a sweet wound that never healed. The highest point of their love came during the filming of The Godfather Part 3 in 1990, the final film bringing them back as Michael and Kay. The set was full of emotion, with scenes that made Keaton feel as if she were reliving their love. She hoped this would be a chance for Pacino to change, to build a future together. But when she gave the ultimatum, "Marry me or we break up," Pacino, though pained, chose to walk away. "I was too young, too busy with work," he later admitted to a close friend to the Daily Mail. Keaton, with a broken but strong heart, decided to end the relationship. "I loved him completely, and that was all I had," she wrote in her diary, a line revealed by friends after her death. The breakup in 1990 was not just the end of a love story, but also the moment that shaped Keaton's choice to stay single. After Pacino, she never fully opened her heart to anyone else. Though she had brief relationships and proposals from other men, she always said no. "I loved Al with all my heart, and no one can fill that empty space," she once told a friend. Her love with Pacino, though passionate, left a haunting feeling, not of loss, but of having given everything and getting an incomplete dream. It made her afraid of commitment, afraid no other love could match those years. Instead of marriage, Keaton found comfort in being a mother. At age 50, she adopted 2 children, Dexter and Duke, and turned her home into a world full of books, films, and laughter. She once said in a 2019 Guardian interview, "I don't need a man to feel complete. I have my children, and that's my greatest love." Yet deep down, friends noticed she still carried Pacino's shadow, not with bitterness, but as a beautiful yet painful memory. The wide-brimmed hats, unusual outfits, and her loud laughter when talking about The Godfather all carried the feeling of those days. When she died, Diane left behind an impressive amount of money estimated at around $100 million. Her wealth included income from classic roles such as The Godfather and Annie Hall, which earned her the 1977 Oscar and Something's Gotta Give, along with profits from buying and fixing up historic homes in Southern California. As a lifelong single woman who never married, Keaton carefully planned to make sure her money was given out privately and thoughtfully, mainly through a family trust to protect her 2 adopted children, and honor the values she held dear throughout her life. Keaton's movie career was the foundation of her wealth, with millions from blockbuster films and money from classic works. Additionally, she added to her income through directing, producing, and writing books, including her autobiography, Then Again, 2011, and The House That Pinterest Built, 2017, about interior design. However, real estate was her largest money source, earning her the title of a high-end house flipper in Los Angeles. A great example was the Brentwood home bought in 2009 for $4.7 million, which she fixed up into a building masterpiece and listed for $28.9 million in March 2025, just months before her death. Other deals in Beverly Hills and Pacific Palisades, such as the house sold to Madonna in 1997 for $6.5 million, made tens of millions in profit, showing her unique taste and business skills. Keaton's varied collection included cash, stocks, and real assets such as art, photography, and antique furniture. She lived simply, avoiding overspending, and was described as a careful money manager with legal advisor support. There were no reports of debt or money arguments, and she had set up a family trust in the 1990s to 2000s, shortly after adopting Dexter and Duke. This trust made sure the money was given out without public court hearings, honoring her desire for privacy. Most of Keaton's money was given to her 2 adopted children, Dexter and Duke, whom she called the greatest love of my life. Dexter, a veterinary technology graduate who lives privately, shared memories of her mother on social media, while Duke followed music with her support. Beyond family, Keaton gave a small part of her money to charity. Diane Keaton's funeral was held in a serious and private atmosphere, attended by family, close friends, and several well-known co-workers. Many shared fond memories of her, from her humor and charm to her strength in facing illness. Co-workers gave heartfelt tributes, honoring Keaton's huge movie work and her impact on American arts. The funeral space was filled with sympathy messages, fresh flowers, and stories of her inspiring life, showing the respect and love people held for this legendary actress. Al Pacino, her longtime boyfriend, spoke in tribute to Diane Keaton, calling her the only one I ever wanted to marry. What do you think of Diane Keaton? A strong yet weak woman, an icon of art and character. Share your thoughts. Subscribe for more articles and videos about legendary movie people. And thank you for joining us on this journey to honor Diane Keaton.